Hello and welcome to the all new This Is Metal with Tom Collier. Welcome,
Yeah,
Tom.
baby.
Tom is our new co-host. As many people know, Joe Lawson um, left the show, and Tom is you were the first person that really came to mind, and I'll tell you why, Tom. As I shared with people when we made the announcement, I did an interview with you. I've done quite a few interviews with you in the past, but the most recent one we titled it. Um, Chaotic Risk TV interview with Tom Collier and friends. Because the interesting thing about that interview was I knew I was going to be interviewing you, but then the day of the interview, I get an email from, of all people, David Schenkel, telling me, "Hey, Annie's going to be on," and then I get a message from somebody else that they're going to be on the interview, and I take great pride in being ready and prepared, and I really had no idea what was going on until the interview actually started. Even Ethan Brosh kind of, I noticed his name is on the screen as we're getting ready to do the show.
Yep, and
And,
Bob Cunningham from the Crazy Neighbors. Yep.
yeah, and I'm like, wow, Tom, and Annie, and I'm like, wow, Tom was really, he set this up, but it was a fun thing to do, and and I had fun doing it. There's something to say about kind of going off the cuff. So why don't we tell people a little bit about who Tom Collier is? Obviously, the guitar player, lead singer from Held Hostage. Tell us a little something that people might not know about you, Tom.
Well, now I recently became the president of a record company,
All
um,
right.
Fire Rock Music Group. We'll get into that. I'm also a real estate broker. I've been a successful real estate broker for many years. People don't realize that professional musicians actually, the majority of us hold other jobs.
Yeah, yeah.
But we go out on the road. My job's flexible. I go out on the road, but I was very proud to become the president of the record label, and that's one of the things that like we've been talking about is that we should be talking about the compilation that we're going to do here.
Yeah, yeah. Let's tell people about that because I want people to know. Besides picking, use our new co-host, we really want to kind of step things up. And I've noticed in just kind of announcing that you're coming on board, that people have really been responding to the post in a way like never before. And I don't know why that is, but it's getting me kind of pretty excited.
Absolutely. But we're going to do the first ever This Is Metal playlist compilation. You like volume one. We're going to pick 10 of the best unsigned bands. We don't want bands that have been signed before. We want to give the unsigned bands a chance to this. And through my record label, we're going to put them out worldwide. Send us all your tracks, but only, I should say, each band one track submission. Your best track is what we want. But we want bands from all over the world to do this. We're not even just talking United States bands because our record label today, we got bands from the UK that sent us EPKs. And I mean, we've got bands from all over the world trying to get on our label, and we're aggressively signing bands. But we think giving unsigned artists, and this what this show is about, right? This is metal. We want bands to come on here, and I think it's a great idea. You and I get to discuss this, and you thought it was a great idea too.
Yeah,
In fact,
yeah.
it was basically your idea we talked about.
Yeah, I mean, people should know that this is a digital release, so like not any physical CDs or anything like that. But that's modern day. That's how things are done now. As far as submitting the tracks, Tom, tell people how they can go about doing that. I mean, is there somewhere
We should probably set up an email just for this, and maybe we'll set up like a This Is Metal Gmail account or something like that, where we can just check them. And it's going to be you and I are going to be the final judges on that. We're going to pick the top 10 that are released, but also we're going to give kudos to everybody that submits. I mean, we really think it's important. And the top 10, we're going to interview them, correct? We talked about that. The ones that win.
Each one, I think, especially with the top 10, we'll call it, that make it onto the final release, they deserve to have a little more of a spotlight on them because it's one thing to get your track on the compilation, but then let's put a spotlight on those bands. You're special enough to get your track on the album. Let's kind of shine a light on those bands and tell people a little more about who they are.
Absolutely, they're going to be released through a major record label. I mean, we are stepping up our game. Fire Rock is. I mean, we're competing with all the big players out there now. I mean, we didn't expect it to go the way it is, but everybody's coming to us. We think we've found a new mousetrap. The best way to help the musicians. Our label is all about making the musicians the money. We're tired of the label stealing the money. We want the musicians, and we structure so the musicians are the ones that make the money, and they keep all their publishing rights. We're not looking to take anybody's music, anything like that. We do a licensing deal with them, a distribution deal, and I tell you, when they sign with the label, it's a physical and a digital release. But what we're doing with a compilation, it's still going to give them guys, whoever wins those top 10, we are going to scrutinize them. And I mean, our publicist is, Michael Brandwald. I mean, the guys with Kiss, Ozzy Osbourne, Madonna, Accept,
Blackie Lawless, Britney
Blackie
Spears.
Lawless, Lawless. Absolutely. The guy's a legend, and they'll get publicity through him, through our record label. We'll put it out, we'll do some press releases for them. I mean, we're going to make it worth their while to be on this, and it'll really give them kudos to say they're on a record label. That was
Yeah,
one of the
I'll be honest, Tom, why we're doing this too. I mean, it helps everybody out. I mean, we're just kind of relaunching This Is Metal with you as a new co-host. And we're trying to step up our game a little, like you said, with when I contacted you about the guests we're going to try to get to come on here. We want everybody from established acts, established artists coming on to like be some of these up and coming bands. We want to shine a light on everybody that we think kind of deserves it.
Absolutely. People from the back behind the scenes. I mean, we've got a great photographer that's going to be on here.
Yeah.
Famous photographer. I mean, we're not just going to do musicians. Heck, we're looking at all sorts of people in the industry. Maybe we might even interview a co-host from another show.
Yeah, that's cool. It's all about networking. I mean, again, Tom, when Joe Lawson shared with me his decision that he was going to be leaving, immediate response is, well, do we carry on with the show? And if we do, who's going to, become a new co-host? And it's all about networking. And rather than to reach out to somebody, search other sites and look for somebody I don't really know, let's look through people that we've networked with and worked with before. And I've always enjoyed interviewing you and the guys in your band. You guys are super friendly. You're down to earth, and you got your own following. So by having you come on as a new co-host, not just does me and Chaotic Wrist and This Is Metal kind of gain some new followers. We all stand to win. We're in the same game, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. And I was so honored when you reached out to me and asked me. I was flabbergasted. I was like, really? And then I thought about it. I said, I mean, this would be fantastic. We've always gotten along great. And I'm on the East Coast, you're on the West Coast.
Yeah.
I mean, and we have different views. And I think people, as it goes through and we're interviewing people, they're going to see the different perspectives we have. Because I'm looking at things.
Right off the bat, one thing that we have a different perspective on, and I think you have an interesting perspective on, is the fact that you're a musician and I'm not. So when we have these guests come on, you got that immediate connection with them. You know what it's like to get up on stage. You know what it's like to record an album's worth of material.
Out touring, everything, sure.
And I don't. So I got started doing this, purely out of my love for music, wanting to kind of do what I can to spread the word. And it's kind of like you're saying, I'm not a musician. Boy, man, do I wish I could, that I had some kind of talent, but I don't. But I've been able to connect with bands this way, and we work with them, and they help me. I mean, I can't tell you how many times somebody tells me, "Hey, how would you like? I'll send you our latest CD. You've done it with your latest release, Tom, and you're nice enough to autograph it, and we wrote up a review, and we put it up." And so everybody kind of wins by working together. And like you're saying, I mean, how do I get some of my interviews? Through Facebook. I find a lot of people like you through networking with Randall. You were previously one of his clients. Well, you still are. And other people. I have publicists like him. I think another publicist. You said you work with the folks at Chipster PR. They give me a lot of great interviews.
Worked at Metal Promo. I've worked with many publicists. Absolutely.
Yeah, but Lord of PR, and that's the whole thing. Is we network and. We got a pool of from networking with these people, a pool of artists that we can already bring on.
Absolutely. I think it's important to give, like, I'm wearing two hats now. I'm not just a musician, I'm also a record company executive. So when I'm talking to musicians, I have to look at things differently. Like we're getting submissions every day. Like we're probably getting 5 to 10 submissions a day. And I have to look at them and I have to talk to them. And the thing they don't understand, which I didn't understand too when I first was trying to get a record deal. Of course, my first deal was back in the 80s. People were throwing money at you. The whole world's changed now. And I have to tell them, the record, you have to have sales. You've got to be realistic in what you're doing. We're not here to take your money. You can't, and sales, and you have to have great songs. The great songs is the most important thing. But if they don't have sales, the record company's not going to give them $50,000. They're not going to give them $5,000 because you're not going to recoup it. Everybody thinks they got the greatest songs, but so it's been retraining my whole thought since I've taken over as the president. And I'm seeing how executives look at it, but I'm also going, but let's give these guys a chance. We're giving everybody a chance out there. If they want to be realistic, we'll get them out there worldwide. We've got contracts with Walmart's, Targets, Barnes and Nobles. We've got 300 major record stores just in New York, in the United States, that we go, that their
Yeah.
physical product would go to. We believe in physical product, but we also want them to be able to sell the product themselves and make the money. Not buy the product from us, buy the product, pay it, sell it themselves. You know, that's the only way to make money if you're out touring.
Well, it's interesting that you have two perspectives, and I'm kind of interested in having you as a new co-host because you are a musician, you are an artist yourself. You're now you're with the label, you're a label president, and so you got a perspective on both ends, and that's why these people that you're signing, you kind of have that experience. You can tell, well, look, hey, I'm in a band, I know what it takes to do this, and anybody that may laugh at this, I got to tell you, Tom has had quite a bit of success with Held Hostage. For a band of that level, you guys are a national act. But what I mean by that is you're telling me when I interviewed you the last couple of times that the latest Held Hostage album was nominated for, I think, like 4 or 5 Grammys. Didn't win it, but for a band, a band that's just kind of coming back the last couple of years, it's hard for any metal or hard rock act to get that kind of attention. So the fact that you have not just one, but like 4 or 5 of your songs in the same album nominated, that says it all.
And plus, last summer when we released Billboard charts, 9 out of our 12 songs went in the top 500 on the Billboards. We had one that went to 135, and we were pretty proud. We stayed there 18 weeks on the Billboard charts for a rock band. I mean, a heavy rock band like us, and that's pretty unheard of. There's so many releases now. The average lifespan of that is about 6 weeks. That's what we were told by the radio. We spent 18 weeks on there, and we're still getting spins. And what happened is it brought back the Epic album, and all of a sudden they're buying our back catalog, and they're playing on the radio stations. The same DJs, all of a sudden, are playing. Well, wait a second, we didn't know about this Epic album. They look up our catalog and they're playing it. And so I think that what bands have to understand, it's a 50-50 deal with the label. You've got to do it yourself too. You've got to get out there, because if you sit home and don't try to help, bands will tell me all the time, oh, my label didn't do nothing for me. I said, well, what their contracts say they were going to do? Nothing. Okay, well, then they did everything they were supposed to do. They released you. It's up to you guys to get out there and do stuff. So now that I look at it like this, but when I first record deal, I was happy to get signed. And at one point I was like, geez, it's not doing that great. And all of a sudden they said, but the label's doing everything they said they would do for me. I'm not going to run around and badmouth any label that said they did exactly what they said they were going to do. So I went out and made it successful myself. I just said, sometimes you got to get up and run with the ball. And this next deal, I ended up as the president of the company. We did did sales, and so.
And so, what is it like for you, Tom, as your role in the president of the label, and even doing This Is Metal now, getting a chance to kind of be on the other side? Like coming on, you're going to get a chance to interview some of these, guests we have on, as opposed to you're the guy typically people are asking questions of.
I'm loving the idea of this, because most of them are my peers, friends of mine. I've either played with them or toured with them and stuff. Somehow we're affiliated, and I think it's going to be the coolest thing in the world. And I was so happy when you asked me.
You're going to have those stories that I don't have from doing those shows with those guys.
No, some I won't be able to tell, just so you know, from the 80s.
Yeah, of course. You got to keep it respectful. But
it'll be really great. And I've made so many great friends. Music brings, like you and I, still brings people we would have never met if it wasn't for music.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because I got such a passion for music as a fan. I could talk for hours with anybody about music. And it doesn't even necessarily, I could have a conversation with you talking about Chuck Berry or, Metallica or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't forget Roy Clark. People laugh. He was a great guitar player. I don't know if you ever listened to Roy Clark. I seen him live and I thought, am I looking at Ted Nugent? This guy was riffing on that guitar like anybody I've ever seen. But
and people talk about like John Bonham and Carmine Appice, great drummers. But I tell you, you want to see the guys that influence like Carmine Appice, you should check out Buddy Rich.
Oh yeah, absolutely, guys. Absolutely. In fact, Scott Columbus from Man of War was a big Buddy Rich fan. Loved him. Thought he was the greatest drummer ever. There's so many people that started and they just evolved. And that's what I tell bands too. Your album, your music has to evolve. If it doesn't, if it stays the same, you're dead in the water. Each album I try to evolve and change my writing style just a little bit, but I keep it in the same way. And
Tom, the thing too that people got to realize, like you're saying, the way the market is today, in the record industry. Like the latest Def Leppard studio album came out a couple years back. was #1 like for 1 or 2 weeks, but you know, like the first week it came out, it was a #1 album, but nobody's talking about it anymore.
How long did it stay? I mean, it was gone. That's what I mean. That's when they said, you know, you realize that you held hostage has sat 18 weeks on the Billboard charts and 9 out of 12 songs, 3/4 of the album charted. I was like, wow, really? And we got the radio reports and I was going, wow. Well, see, the fans only see the top 40 bands for the Billboard. That's all they see. We get to see the top 500 as artists. They'll send it off to us, but Billboard only prints the top 40.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're on Facebook, like there's a lot of great bands you and I know that we find on there. There's another band comes to mind is like there was this band called Vante. They had a huge album this last year, and yet as well as the album chart, it was all over Billboard and stuff. They had hit singles. Again, they haven't gone mainstream yet, but they have that kind of success.
Yeah, yep. And it's you've got to evolve. That's what I tell people all along. My music has evolved, but I'm not changing it. But I just feel like songs like The Master that I wrote, and Scott Gregg, my rhythm guitar player, wrote the vocals with. That's the first song we ever co-wrote together. I wrote all the music and stuff, but it was just such a different thing when Ripper heard that song and sang it. It was like, wow. Matter of fact, we were going to premiere that live video on here. We're going to figure out the date. It's unedited, raw, just the way how Lasha sounds. It's right through the camera, through the video camera. Wow. We're not worried. We're not afraid of anything. We're not going to doctor anything up. We're not. When we play live, some bands use backing tracks. The day I have to use a backing track, I'm done. If I can't play my own music, I'm done. And that's not a diss against any other bands. It's just my beliefs. You know, if somebody's paying to see Held Hostage or whoever the band is, that you want to see. If I go out and I see a band and I'm like, why is his mouth moving and there's nothing coming out of it? And now it's not moving and there's tracks coming out.
I mean, I see both respects. I mean, I would prefer to see the band actually perform, as you say, but if it's type of thing, like maybe it's just kind of backing track here and there, and you can't really tell, that's a different thing, as long as they're not Billy Vanilling it.
Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. There's some bands out there that are on the road right now, and they're probably 60% of their music is all backing tracks.
Yeah, I'll tell you, like, stuff that disappoints me sometimes when I hear stuff like this. I seen an interview recently online with the guys in Motley Crue, and Nikki Sixx said to the effect that we're in the "we don't give a fuck" phase of our career, talking about all this stuff about they're rumored to be doing these backing tracks, right. And he's let the cat out of the bag, or somebody did, and he's kind of, I can't even remember if I even played on the first 4 Motley Crue albums. Now my question is, when people are questioning you, even if it's true that you did, why would you let that out of the bag? Because I'm feeling kind of disappointed. Like, wow, I love all that stuff, but wow, my hero's saying he didn't even play on.
Yeah, I was surprised. I seen that same interview, and I was surprised on that. But I mean, I guess there's some things.
Not gonna affect him, right? He's still be a millionaire.
Yep, absolutely. And I've always told people in our band, we keep our band business to ourselves. Don't get on social media if you're upset about something. That's the worst thing a band can do. And don't attack another musician. Just don't do that. They just don't. I mean, I've had people say stuff to me, and I just laugh it off. Say, hey, if you didn't like it, cool. But hey, I'm out there touring. You can sit home in your garage.
Another thing, Tom, when I approached you about doing this, that you got me really excited about is you also, because your band was you were inducted in the you performed at the Hall of Fame last year.
Yes, the Metal Hall of Fame. We were there, and we got to perform with in front of Twisted Sister, Lou Gramm, Foreigner, Raven, great band. I love those guys in Raven, Chris and Pelletieri, Doug Aldridge. Yeah. We were there, and I got to hang out with Stevie Vai, my guitar hero, all back. And it was just a great time. And actually, we've been hired back to play next year. We're going to play the induction ceremony again next year, the Hall of Fame in Berkeley. Yep.
And just to let all our this is metal audience know, Tom was, because he's got this connection with the Metal Hall of Fame. They're at a future date and time going to come on, a representative from that organization is going to come on and talk to us about it, because I think they really haven't had. I think they came close with the Revolver Golden Gods. I don't know whatever happened to that, but the Metal Hall of Fame, I think they finally got it right as far as recognizing true metal acts. I mean, even the Grammys, to me, they've made it several attempts. I don't think they've got it right. I mean, Ozzy Osbourne finally gets a Grammy when he announces he has Parkinson's disease and is retiring and puts out his final album. And that's great. I'm glad Ozzy got a Grammy, but you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And the Metal Hall has really stepped it up. I mean, it was a capacity show. I couldn't have went any better.
Yeah.
Like I say, got Twisted Sisters final show, but now I guess they may do a couple more of them. Mike Portnoy, what a monster on the drums back there, you know. Just it was great we hung backstage. I stood right on the stage while they performed. I mean, it was just fantastic, incredible night.
Yeah.
And there were so many people. John Corabi was there. There was so many people I ran into. I mean, like I say, Steve Vai. I wanted to see Steve Vai turn. I come off the stage and there's Steve Vai standing there. You know, and we just started talking music.
Steve Vai, I've always loved him, what he did. I mean, like a lot of people, I first became aware of him through the David Lee Roth band.
Yep.
I'll never forget the first time I heard the song Yankee Rose.
Oh God, yeah.
The way the solo, the way he actually was making the guitar talk to me, you know. I never heard anybody do anything like that on the guitar until him.
Oh, it was what a great player the guy is. And he's a great, just a great human being to stand there and talk to him. And Lou Graham was the nicest guy I've ever met. And Lou just stood back there, such a gentleman, just talking away. And just he lives in Rochester, New York. And we were talking. I said, well, just come down 40 miles down the bay. I'm right down the bay. We can go boating together. We were talking because I go boating a lot, you know, and Lou boats. And it was just, he says, well, you know where I'm at? I said, absolutely, right up there in Webster. I'm very familiar with where you're at, you know.
Yeah, it'd be cool to like if you and him were able to do some kind of duet or something together on one of your future releases. Who knows?
Yeah. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's true. And, you know, Tom, I'm really excited about the digital release, the compilation, and we're gonna after we get done with today's show, we're gonna post all the information up on our site so people can know how to submit the tracks. We just want to kind of get the word out today, and it's all about people submitting. I mean, you increase your chance just by submitting a track to start
Absolutely.
with.
Absolutely.
And not necessarily anybody going to be denied. You submit a track and it's up for consideration, you know, and you're up against, you know, there's 10 slots on the release. And the thing with it, I'm very excited about is I'm not really looking, it's kind of just what gets, you know, what 10 songs, you know, you and I decide are kind of what gets us off, you know, what sounds cool, what we think people are going to like. And like we said, we're going to create this playlist and people can purchase a release and we're going to highlight all these bands and they're going to be able to come on and do an interview with the 10 bands. And there's going to be other things along the way, you know, announced to kind of coincide so people can kind of see the bands that have submitted tracks so far. So that's going to be a thing too, that you might not even be one of the 10 tracks that, you know, gets, you know, it makes the release, but you're going to get mentioned on the show. You're going to maybe get a chance to send in a video of hey, this is the track, this band submitted this track. These are the bands that have submitted tracks so far. And so there's other ways people are going to get recognition through this. And I would say anybody that submits a track, they're going to stay in our network. We're going to continue to touch base with them, have them on the show if they want to come back, you know.
And there'll be more than one playlist too. And
Yeah.
we're talking about doing this more than once. This isn't just going to be a one-time off. We're going to continue. You know, we don't know how often, whether it's once every 6 months, once a year, you know, we'll figure that out. But I think these bands getting a chance for an unsigned band to be on a record label, legitimate record label, is a big deal. And they can say, hey, listen, we just released a compilation album on Fire Rock Music Group. You know, and I think everything you can do in this world to help yourself and continue on. I think that's important.
Now, let me ask, besides the release that we're going to put these 10 tracks on, Tom, let's say people submit, you know, a track, maybe they don't, either they make it onto the release or they don't. These bands that submit the tracks, do you think a possibility that they could be considered to, you might reach out to them and say, hey, I'd like to, you know, develop your band and see what we can do with you guys? Any chance?
I would absolutely. We're going to listen to every band that comes out there, and first and foremost, it'll be this playlist. But you know, Fire Rock is looking for bands, and if we like them, they might just get signed with us. They might have a record deal, and that's the thing. I'm going to listen to them personally. You're going to listen to them personally, and I mean, I don't know whenever else the president of a record label said send the stuff in, because there's going to come a point we're going to have to go to unsolicited material. But we're not doing that right now. We're getting, you know, 4 or 5 every day. We wake up, there's 4 or 5 new bands, great bands that are coming. Some really good bands. We're very happy.
Yeah, and like, you know, we should let people know we have a This Is Metal Facebook page. And I put that up kind of not just to announce the shows and what we have coming up, but and information like this. But we want to really create a community. I kind of think we've done that so far, where I would really love for people to comment. If you're in a band and you want to appear on this show, if you want to post a video or a track on there so people can check out your band, join the page. we're all into about creating a community. That's then, going forward, that's what we hope to do with this.
And that's why I'm glad to be part of this. You're helping musicians, and that's what the label's about too. And that's what your show is about. I mean, I remember when I first time I came on here, I was just so happy you treated us so good. And then you had us back, and you're a genuine person. So just to be a co-host with you, it's exciting for me.
I appreciate that. And even doing it today, we don't have a guest on today because I thought it'd be cool to kind of get to know Tom and introduce him this way. We're already doing another show tomorrow. The very first guest we're going to have is Andy Haught, a mutual friend of ours. He's the lead singer from this band Zeroking. And so we'll be talking with Andy. And I guess I can let the cat out of the bag. Another guest we have coming on this week is Mark Lopes, the lead singer
Church.
of Metal Church. So these are the kind of guests we're having. And you can even just see the two guests I announced. Metal Church is kind of, they're a little bigger, but Andy Haught, he's a up and coming star. And so he's a mutual friend of both. I've interviewed him. I think this will be my second or third time. Super nice guy.
Great guy. They got great music. Very happy for them. They're doing well, and I like to see people do well.
And again, I wouldn't have known about Andy or his band unless his publicist, another guy in my network, Dave, had reached out to me. I checked out the video they had out at the time. I thought, wow, this is pretty impressive. And I forget the name of the song. He'll tell us about it tomorrow when we interview. But there's a song that he kind of incorporated martial arts stuff with.
Back Off. That's the name of the song. Back Off.
Yeah,
I like that song. Yep.
The way they did that, And so again, just by highlighting this video, talking about it, and martial arts, people might want to check that out.
Absolutely, very cool. And bands like them, I'm going to try to get them to come to New York and do a show with us, and maybe we'll go down and do a show with them. I mean, because we've got a great following here in New York, and it seems like we're getting a great following in California now on the West Coast out there, because that they loved us. We came off the stage, they absolutely brought the house down. We came out there and opened that show up, and they went nuts. I mean, it was great with Eddie Trunk there and Kathy Rankin. Eddie Trunk comes on here and said, these guys came from upstate New York and they just blew this fucking place away. He says, I was like, oh, thanks, Eddie. He's like, I mean it. Make sure you check these guys out. So it was a fun time.
That's cool. So, Tom, before you wrap it up today, anything else you want to say to the folks?
Well, I just hope we got to get the people tuning, because this is going to be a little bit different show, I think. We're going to have different types of guests on here. We might have a roadie on here. I mean, we've already got a great photographer coming in. The guy's worked with Triumph, Kiss. He's worked with everybody. I mean, I think his stories are going to be really cool. They're going to be different perspective because he's in the crowd shooting.
I got this friend of mine that he plays in a Kiss tribute band out here. He plays, but he's a drummer of Peter Criss, if you will, of the band. And I do a show with him, and he had me with his friend come on. He said, this guy, he's like a roadie. He does the lights or something, and he's like, he just did the stadium tour. He's going to be on the Kiss tour. We had him come on, and again, people might not think a guy like that has a unique perspective, but he does, because I mean, again, if you're a fan of any of these bands, I mean, I would love to get a job like that. Hey, if I could go on the road with Kiss and I knew what to do with the lights, hey, that would be a cool job, And as Tom, doing your shows, I think you told me that you in the band, you don't have roadies. You guys are your own crew, and you have friends come and help break everything down and set it up, huh?
We've got a system done. Well, we do have a couple roadies that work with us, but we have a system that we can get on that stage and off the stage better with us. Nobody knows how to set my rig up or tear it down better than I do. There's a certain way I want it set up, and I just don't want anybody else to set it up any differently. I mean, I had a roadie that did it for me, and he moved to Florida, and he was with the band for many years. And after that, I said I took it back over myself. And I don't mind. It's good for you to get out there and fun. And when I'm done, I just feel bad for fans, because lots of times with the headliner, I always tell them, I got to get tore down first. My first priority, put everything away so I don't lose anything. Cords, I've got all my gear and the wirelesses. I want to make sure that's all put away secure. Then I'll come out and take pictures and be with you guys. All I need is 10 minutes.
Yeah.
They charge the stage, and I understand. I do the same thing. I mean, I was just at the Rods the other day. I waited for them guys to finish up. Then I went on the stage and talked with Rock Feinstein and with Carl Kennedy and all those guys. It was just great. But I know exactly what they're going through. As soon as you stop playing, the crowd comes at you, and it's hard.
Yeah.
But anyways, I just want to thank you for having me on having me as a co-host. This is going to be a fun show.
And we've really been kind of in the last year kind of stepping this as metal up. It started out as I don't know if you know, an old school podcast, because we were just kind of talking to each other about different bands, me and Joe back and forth. It was actually talking like I used to do with you on the cell
Sure.
phone, and that was fun too. But we always wanted to have guests, and so I initially said, "Hey Joe, let's try to do it over Zoom." And his response initially was, I don't know, I really like to be on video. So I done an interview with this other band, and one of the guys was taking part in the interview from his job, and they said, "Okay, we don't mind you know, doing your interview if you're on your break, but we don't want the work site to really be shown," and we respected that. So, he and the other guy in the band, he was on the screen with me, but we just had his name kind of on the screen, and he was able to talk and do his thing. So I said, "Hey Joe, if you don't want to be on screen, look, we can still do it. We'll respect that. Why don't we try it this way?" And then once we did, he's like, forget that. We'll just be on the camera. And I'm glad we got to do a couple of shows with him before he left, only because we really transitioned from an old school podcast to what we're now doing was having guests come on. And we're stepping it up. I mean, people should know that once I knew Joe was leaving and I contacted Tom and Tom agreed, that the biggest issue was like just announcing Joe's leaving and Tom's coming aboard. And we wanted to respect everybody and give a previous host Joe a proper send off. And I feel we accomplished that. But Tom and I, since we've been doing this the last couple of weeks, we've already got the month of August booked up as far as guests, and we're starting to. We booked the
Into September.
first guest in September, so we're well on our way.
And we got some great guests coming on too. I mean, I'm just excited. Mark Lopes is just, I think when people discover the real Mark Lopes, he's just a great guy too.
Yeah,
Hardworking guy and incredible singer, but he does so many other things that we'll talk about,
Oh, sure. Well, Tom, it was a great first show, man. I look forward to tomorrow. We have the interview with Andy, so we'll be doing that. I'll see you tomorrow, Tom, and this will be going up next Monday. So people can look for the show we just did next Monday, and we'll be posting the exact time and everything. It's usually in the morning about 10 o'clock, but if it changes or anything, we'll let you guys know. So, Tom, first
One last
show.
thing to say. I got one last thing to say. I forgot. My good friend Eric's wife, Donna Marie, happy birthday. But when you see this, is going to be happy belated birthday. Today's August 2nd, her birthday. But I told Eric I would wish her a happy birthday. So Donna Marie, happy birthday.
Donna Marie, happy birthday. I don't know you, but if you're a friend of Tom, you got to be a pretty good person.
Thanks, brother. Thank you.
Take care, Tom. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.